Hello YouTube, this is Charlie426, and today we have the review of Takara Tomi's new line, the Realized model or the T-Spark series Saber Tiger Schwarz special version. So once again, if you grew up with the original Zoids anime series, I think you would really appreciate this design as well. Granted, I wasn't really expecting this specific unit this early, but once again, I'm really glad they did. So once again, I did review the Blade Liger kit. I think that was the first release of the line, if I remember correctly. It's either that or the Command Wolf, one of those two. It was a very fun kit, and the fact that for those who don't know what these are is basically to give you guys a quick history lesson. Is that, so if you know Zoids, they're all these mechanical beasts that people can like pilot, basically, in a nutshell. If you don't watch the anime, that's the best way I can explain it. And so far, even from the past to the present, or up to recently, Zoids products or toys were also technically model kits, but at the same time they were always unlike Gunpla, where you had the freedom to like move or pose them however you wanted. The even recent toys were like this. So now mine's out of battery, but they would always have a switch somewhere, and they would always move, or they would have the ability to move using a motorized feature here. So if there's a motor inside here, you turn on the switch and this would be moving. It's all fun in games at that point, but at some point you just realize, compared to Gunpla, is that you do not have any control of the pose. It's always going to be in this static pose. Granted, like, I guess that is the limitations of like animal design things, but once again, there's nothing you can do. You can't spread the legs, you can't move the front leg, you can't even open the jaw without any freedom. Everything's just locked in place. So the build is fun, but after the build, it's just you don't really get to touch it as often as you do. So which is why actually at some point, or at least in my country, which was Korea, there was actually a war between Gunpla and Zoids, which is a funny story, but basically it was a war amongst like sales, who would be the ultimate winner, who would be the ultimate hobby item. And in the end, sadly, Zoids actually lost, and Gunpla won, because for the fact that you have much more freedom in terms of customization and posing and more playability. Which is why, Zoids, at some point in Korea, they just all vanished at all stores, and all the spaces were taken by Gunpla. But yeah, that's what I remember. Some people may remember it slightly differently, but yeah, as someone who was collecting both, it was a really interesting change in pace in the market. So anyway, after so many years, starting from this year, if I counted correctly, Takara Tomy decided to finally release like model kits of classic, or not classic, but basically they started from the beginning again, but with the more freedom of build and freedom of posing products, which is their T-Spark line, which is more of the toy, which is going back to their original roots, but once again, but also improving certain things that they weren't able to do. So now think of it as like Zoids, but in Gunpla. Now you might even be saying that, weren't there HMM kits from Kotobukiya? Yes, those were also technically kits. They're amazing in terms of looks, but their build level is kind of high. It's not something that you can just give a kid and tell them to build it. It's a very long process building kit, and it takes a lot of time and effort and energy as well. So yeah, HMM has their own pluses and minuses as well. This one also has their own pluses and minuses. But once again, if you wanted something a little bit more simple, not too crazy as Kotobukiya stuff, this is the thing that you should go for. Granted, the price is a little bit stronger than I'm hoping for, but once again, so far everything is increasing in price. What can we do at this point? Alright, so once again, this is the Saber Tiger, not Raven's version, the Schwarz version. For those who watch the anime but don't remember who Schwarz is, it's basically the pilot, the Bison's pilot's brother. Let's just put it that way. So in the series, there's a guy who pilots the Bison was using AI. But once again, he has a brother who his aesthetic is like, he's like a young German officer. That's the best way I can explain. But yeah, he's like an ace pilot and elite kind of type character in the series. And yeah, he helps the main characters a lot. And he has his own Zoids, which is one of them being Saber Tiger. The other one, if I remember correctly, is Iron Kong. So yeah, speaking of which, yes, I did pre-order Iron Kong and Shield Liger as well, with even including Irvine's Command Wolf. So you can expect me a review from me in the future. Alright, so enough chit chat. Let's look at the kit as well. I've explained a little bit too much on the history and what's going on here. So yeah, this is the Saber Tiger. I believe the regular Saber Tiger is is released, or at least they did take pre-order. So I believe that's just considered as Raven's version, the like standalone base unit of the Saber Tiger. This is Schwarz version, which is why we have a different color scheme, and then we have more equipment on the back. Alright, so before we go into articulation here, let's look at the components, what you're supposed to be getting. So you get the base Tiger, Saber Tiger unit. Everything is color separated. You see there's no stickers at all, because there was no stickers including this kit, unless they just forgot to put it in, because there were some interesting errors in the manual I would like to point out. And number two, and then compared to the regular Saber Tiger, you get all this equipment on the back here. So you get all this stuff, including the Gatling gun, and then you get these springs for, like, you know, for like these middle parts here, which I have some comments regarding this as well. But once again, if you look at the leftover parts, which is basically 4 parts, this is basically the old, you know, the caps that you cover up with certain pegs here, because, you know, Zoids, they always had these parts, you know, running around or rolling around or spinning around on the kit. So yeah, this is the easiest part to lose, so that they did give you 1 extra, which is an odd number. And then you get this part. So if you want to have like a simple base Saber Tiger, you can take off all the stuff on the back and then slap this on to the front back, and you're good to go. I'll show you guys this later. And then this, they do give you the option to not use the springs on the Gatling gun. So if you want to do that, you use these as well. So it's really up to you, but at least for the Gatling gun, I do suggest you don't use it, because it just makes it more messy. Alright, so we've seen the components here, and then I'm pretty sure you guys are wondering how the size this thing is. Now, I mentioned about scale and all sorts of whatnot. Some of you guys took it a little bit too seriously. I just wanted to mention that the scale on this thing is not really mentioned on the box. That's why I just wanted to mention, or technically it is mentioned on the box, but 1 to 100 right here. But once again, I did just explain like how the difference is. Just because it's a 1 to 100 scale, it's not master grade or something like that. I just explained a few terms, but once again, I think it sounded a little bit too confusing. So just don't take it too seriously, okay? Just wanted to mention that the scale shouldn't matter at this point with these type of products. So anyway, here's compared to a typical 1 to 144 scale Gunpla kit. This is, I just wanted to show you guys, compare how to give you guys the ideas of the size of the kit in general. So yeah, I believe HG kits or HG 1 to 144 scale kits are the most common ones that are bought by people. So yeah, you can see it's height-wise, obviously it's not the best way to explain, but height-wise, you could say the height of the kit is like roughly the length of the main unit here, and height-wise, if you exclude the weapons, it comes roughly of the waist section of there. So yeah, and then just to give you guys an interesting comparison, here is next to the previous Blade Liger kit. Now if you look at side by side, they look roughly the same, but once again, yeah, I think some parts are, it just depends on how you look at it. Some parts may look bulkier than the other part, but yeah, you can see, yeah, they're roughly the same size as well. And since I did brought this one out, I just want to also mention that I'm really thankful for what Takara Tomy did. They could have just used the same joints or same structure as this guy onto this, but no, they actually had an entirely different structure. So it's not like they're just mass producing the same thing over and over. So they're actually engineering, designing all sorts of new stuff here. So we can definitely look forward for the stuff in the future. Alright, so now let's get into articulation here. I guess we'll start from the front to the back. That would make sense. So here is the head. Definitely a handsome looking Saber Tiger head going on here with the black color and yellow ears and teeth. Ooh, actually, yellow teeth may not be a good thing, but in general, yellow teeth. And then you can also open up the hatch to reveal the pilot, Schwarz himself. Really cool looking. And then obviously, yes, you can actually open the mouth. Just be careful to knock off the teeth in here, because they're all in the way. You can see I'm trying to struggle to get my fingernail in there, but yeah, you can open up the mouth as well, no big deal. You can see all the teeth in there. The head can go, I believe this is as far as it can go up. Make sure you are also moving the neck. You can go up that much and then down that much as well, and you can see there's a separate joint in there as well, so you can also wiggle side to side. But if you look at the head, move the head thing on its own, you can barely go 360. Okay, that was close. And then on its own, you can also move up and down, and you do have a little bit of wiggle room side to side as well. Alright, and then yeah, once again, no stickers, no colored anything at all. Well, not that I colored, but for everything you see, it comes out, this is straight out from the box. So even so, that blue lens here, that was already pre-colored as well. Alright, so just to mention, yes, the pilot is actually Schwarz molding there. It's not a general pilot figurine, so that's that. Now, let's just to give you guys an idea of how this works. So there's this stuff on the back, so that do be careful when you're moving certain legs or rotating them, because you might actually collide with the equipment here. Like for example, for this one example, this is a beam, this is a blaster that can move up and down, but there's also an antenna attached to the side. So do be careful. These are the type of parts that can easily break off. So I'll just look at this side to be more safe. So here is the leg here. You can go 360, and then the connection point is, as you can see there, is a ball joint. So you can move, you have all the movement here, forward and backward, like a shoulder movement. And here you also have a rotating part of the legs. So technically should be able to go 360 if you have enough space, and then you can have a backward bend on the front leg. I'm not sure if animals actually can do that. And then forward, not exactly full all the way up there, but it should be enough for a four-legged animal like that as well. And then you can see the feet are ball jointed, so you have all the range you need. You should get all the pivots as well. And then there's another joint there, so you do have a little bit extra moving room forward and backward like that. So yeah, compared to the Shield Liger, just to give you guys an idea, this was, I believe, was a the joint on the feet here were on like polycap-ish material here, so there's no joint on the inside if I remember correctly. Or was there? Let me just check again. Yeah, there's no joint there. So yeah, you can see they actually added a little bit more articulation onto the feet even on this design here. So well, who knows, maybe the designer was a really big fan of this unit. So yeah. So if you look at the bottom here, we have the 3 blaster, which is similar to Shield Liger. I believe Blade Liger has a double one. And then looking at the bottom here, you can see these springs going on here. These ones, I guess they're okay, but once again, they're a bit on the floppy side, and because they're springs, they're not going to be looking straight depending on how you build it. And once again, I think they made the springs a little bit too longer than what they intended, because looking at the manual or images, they look much shorter in here as well. Even the one that's on the back here, you can see there's a bent spring there. Now it's supposed to pop out a bit, but based on the images or instruction manual, it should be a little more straighter than this. So it should be shorter than the length that's shown here. Alright, so now looking at the back item here, we showed the blaster. There's nothing too special here. I remember if on the HMM version there was a similar equipment here, but it also reveals, you can flip open and it reveals like a missile launcher or something like that, but who knows, I might be remembering it wrong. Now we've seen the neck area. Let's look at the main body here. So let's look, I think this will be the better way. So you have a little bit of flexible movement here. So you have a front, you do have a little bit to side movement going on here, and you get, ooh, I'm not sure this is actually good for the animal in general, but you do have a ab crunch. I guess this would be counted because this is an animal. It's a little bit tricky to call this an ab crunch for, but yeah, you get the general idea. You do have the up and down movement going on here as well. And then I believe, no, okay, so I'm not confusing things. All right, so now let's look at the back leg. Now once again, the back legs could get in the way, but once again, let's see how this works. You can go 360 if you know your way around, and also the back legs are also on the similar joints here, so you do have the overall forward and backward movement going on here, and also another, oops, yeah, there we go, 360 twist here, and then we have that can go backwards, forwards, and then let's see, you have another joint here that can go forward and backward, and then another joint here that allows the feet to go forward and backward and still is on ball joints. Yeah, as you can tell, I'm still getting used to reviewing these four-legged like mechs or animals in general, so do bear with me that if I'm struggling to show you guys these things. And then we have the tail, a very short tail compared to Shield Ligers. It can only go, not exactly only, but yeah, it's only to move up and down, and I think that's only pretty much it. Because if you remember, Shield Ligers is actually on a, I believe, was on a ball joint. Yeah, so you do have a, oh, there we go. Not ball joint on the end tip, but using a polycap here. So you do have a little bit of free range of movement, but it is technically limited to some degree. So yeah. Once again, having a short tail means it won't eat up as many space compared to certain Zoids, so it's a good thing. And then let's get the backpack equipment. So regarding the spring, mine had a quality control issue on here. You can see the spring actually came in like this. I'm not joking at all. So yeah, mine had this little bit gap here in the spring, so which makes it a little bit messy here. But in general, the spring here is gonna just make it messy, and sometimes the spring can get inside the joint, inside or behind the leg here, which could affect the movement or just you can ruin the spring pretty easily. So at least for the Gatling gun, I just suggest you use the other parts and just not use the spring in general. The end spring goes from here to here, which is actually, interestingly enough, connected as a ball jointed zone here. And as you can see here, the spring is already starting to split apart here as well. So yeah, for the Gatling gun, don't use a spring. I think that's the way to go. I might actually fix that after this video. But in general, so let me pull up and go back. Okay, so the Gatling gun does have range. So this thing in general is a single piece like that, so it connects with a single peg. But oddly enough, it goes a little bit deeper. So this thing in general does not rotate on its own. I mean, you do have a little bit of wiggle, but it's not rotating. But the Gatling gun itself has a rotation point here. So you go side to side, left to right, and then go up and down as well. So you can definitely aim with this, and it can also spin. Yeah, you do have a rotating point here. It's a little bit stiff, so don't try to force it as well. And then you have this part here, which can go up and down as well. I've never noticed this, but yeah, this is actually a different color here on its own. So yeah, unless this is like Schwarz like signature colors thing or whatever. If they actually do release a Schwarz special iron column, and if there's actually a pink part there, I guess that is the case. Alright, so we've seen the basics of the unit here. So once again, overall it's an entirely different build. Just because you bought like the shield, the blade larger, it's not going to be a copy paste in inner frame or structure and then other outer parts. It's actually a entirely different build. Granted, there is a little bit tricky parts on the body, or the spring is a little bit tricky to apply, but once again, it's a very fun build, and I can definitely tell they wanted to improve even more compared to the blade liger, so they added even more articulation here and there for more free range of movement. Now, once again, some people don't like to have all this stuff on the back, so what you can do is A, take off the front part, and then B, take off the back part. And it's already become much more cleaner, but you have all this like stuff revealing. Then this is where this comes in. So you slap this on here, and you're good to go. You have a base Saber Tiger. Granted, there is this joint here, but I'm not sure if that's supposed to be there or not. It's a base Saber Tiger, but yeah, you have a much cleaner looking design here. So yeah, I guess I'm assuming if Raven Saber Tiger, if it's a release or taking pre-orders, or maybe they didn't take it yet. I'm a little bit confused on the Saber Tiger line, but in general, we can expect that as well. So yeah, if you wanted to just have a base Saber Tiger and you wanted to customize it with your own weapons, you can technically do that as well. Of course, finding the right equipment that fits this thing, you're gonna have to either make one or figure out something else. And that is pretty much it for the review. So this was the review of the realized model T-Spark series Saber Tiger Schwarz special version. So after this, I'm kind of hoping for two things, since they did release this Gatling gun, so maybe they're going to release Schwarz version of Iron Kong, or maybe they can even release Darkhorn, because Darkhorn was actually one of the units that also uses this Gatling gun. And even on the manual here, if you read this on the English section, this Gatling gun is technically supposed to be used with a separate guy on using the gun only, which was and mentions Darkhorn regarding this aspect. So maybe I'm hoping to see a Darkhorn. Now, granted, Redhorn itself is pretty cool, but Darkhorn was definitely much more cooler in terms of color and the fact that he had this Gatling gun on the back compared to Redhorn as well. So yeah, maybe thanks to this guy, or if this guy sells well with this weapon, it might open up more possibilities as well. Anyway, that is pretty much it for the review. This was the review of the Saber Tiger from Takara Tomy. Definitely much smaller than the HMMs always, and much more simpler, but at the same time, just because it's more simpler doesn't mean it's lacking. It has a good amount of articulation going on here for what it is. And yeah, I can definitely see this becoming a whole new generation of a hobby collector item in the future as well, if it does well and the line keeps expanding like Gunpla. Anyway, if you guys got any questions or requests, leave a comment below. I still have more stuff to buy and build and make reviews out, so please stay tuned. Until then, see you guys next time.